In this story from the Post-Millennial, Illinois to force landlords to rent to illegal immigrants. Full stop. Holy crap. Is this a Third Amendment violation? Right?
Well, they're not soldiers, I guess.
Doesn't matter. We had a member mention this, that the Third Amendment, the spirit of it goes beyond just the idea of quartering soldiers, because there was a Supreme Court ruling on it. And the general idea was the government could not intrude on your home. The government forcing you to house anyone, I think, would fall into the Third Amendment. So the question would be, what is the spirit of the Third Amendment? And the idea was the government forcing people into your homes. But I suppose you could make the argument it only referred to quartering soldiers. Here's a story from the Post-Millennial. Illegal immigrants will soon be granted housing rights in the state of Illinois after Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a new bill into law that makes immigration status a protected class. This means that landlords will not be able to deny illegal immigrants housing as average home prices skyrocket across the state. So it's not like they're going to the landlords with an illegal immigrant being like, house them. It's that an illegal immigrant will come, say, I want to live here, and you can't deny them based on the fact that they're not citizens, which is kind of crazy because there might be like other laws you are breaking if you don't deny them, right? Because what do you get, like as a landlord? Well, they're not citizens. Can I rent to them? You're going to report them? I got to say that is the one thing where I'm less worried about the whole story. If an illegal immigrant's going to find an apartment and someone's going to be like, I don't want you to live here, do you think they're going to say, well, you have to? No, the landlord's going to call ICE and just be like, here, problem solved. There you go. But it is insane they're offering up immigration status as a protected class.
Do you think that there would be repercussions for calling ICE? Like, do you think the landlord
Antifa
did that?
throwing bricks through windows?
Or like, could you potentially, because our rule of law gets crazier and crazier all the time, could you get accused of, being discriminatory or a hate crime because you called ICE on someone you suspected was an illegal immigrant? I mean, there might be other repercussions by adding this to being a protected class.
Depends on where we go as a country.
Yeah.
Because if depending on who wins the culture war, where we end up in 100 years, it'll change how all of this is framed. And they already weren't Democrats already running ads that likened arresting illegal immigrants to the same as rounding up Jews? There was like some viral videos where it showed like the image changed or something like that. No, what was that all about? I think that might have been something else. I don't know. But the Democrats have already likened immigration detention centers to concentration camps. Likened, outright called them that. AOC with their fake photos crying in front of these parking lots or whatever, and then claiming that the detention centers put up by Obama were concentration camps. And then as soon as Trump is out of office, they're once again holding centers. But so I guess the question is, if you are somebody who reports an illegal immigrant, you need to ask yourself, are you going to ensure that American values win the culture war? Because if you're not, I'll tell you, after the far left extremists win and there's struggle sessions happening all over, they're going to accuse you of being a Nazi, and they're going to say, see, this proves it.
I think depending on who wins the culture war, if it's the far left, I don't even know if we'll have landlords, because it'll probably be BlackRock owning everything, and we'll all be living in our little 15-minute cities with our
and then there's no illegal immigration because there's
no borders. We have a global government, so maybe there we go.
Society collapses quickly but swiftly.
The CEO of BlackRock's talking about Bitcoin, loving on Bitcoin right now. The total great tracking mechanism.
That's what he said?
No, he didn't say tracking mechanism. He just said, I have a lot of hope for the future. We at BlackRock, we have hope is one of our main tenets. And I just want to talk about Bitcoin because it's a hedge against in case I'm going to stop talking now. He didn't want to be like,
well, BRICS is
just in case the economy.
Currency.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that gives BlackRock hope, we should all just be very wary of.
Oh, yeah. If the CEO of BlackRock is saying, I care about hope, and here's Bitcoin, I think that he's telling you if you want to have hope for the future to get that. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. Is he's like, here's my get out of jail free pass. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Because I'm talking about Bitcoin right now, and we are BlackRock.
This is a lot like what I think Alex Jones was talking about on the Culture War podcast a few months ago, that these elites set a bunch of bear traps, publicly announce where they are, and then sit back and wait. Mm-hmm. And their mentality is, if you're smart enough to avoid them, you deserve to avoid them. And if you're stupid enough to walk into them, then you deserve to. And so this sounds very much like that. All of these problems happening all over the world, in the United States, with the problems, especially with illegal immigration, if you're paying attention to it, you are actively navigating through the bear traps. Mm-hmm. And for the rest of the people living in big cities, they're walking straight into them.
Well, and you have to remember that someone benefits from illegal immigration, right? They wouldn't, if we all agreed it was bad and it didn't help anyone, then we would close the border. But ultimately, Democrats tend to like high immigration areas, high illegal immigration areas, because they tend to tip the census to support their candidates. It helps them when it comes to election years. So I think strategically, like with Illinois, this is a way to lock down more rural areas and potentially have more influence among voters there. If you're making landlords who might not want to house illegal immigrants in their residences, wherever that be, it makes it so potentially you can gain control over an area because, again, you're changing the demographics of more of the state. And I think that's the problem here. I think that people don't take immigration seriously because it makes them uncomfortable to talk about. Like, saying illegal immigration is a protected class is like saying it doesn't matter to everyone who tried to migrate here illegally, because actually you don't have the same protections as someone who is illegal. That they don't care about legal immigration. They don't care about upholding the rule of law. They care about getting their way in the end.
It feels like Democrats, liberals are just fire. They're consuming and destroying everything around them.
Well, and please fact check me, but obviously Illinois is more than Chicago, but I went to school in Chicago. I lived basically on the south side, and I would wager that the places that most of these illegal immigrants are going to be moving into, since if they're illegal, how are they working? They're probably not making that much money. They're going to be moving into the south side of Chicago, right, where the cheapest housing is. And that's going to not only create problems, but it's going to push out people who are living there. So you're all these, liberals complaining about gentrification. And meanwhile, they're sort of, if you read that last sentence, in Chicago, the most populated city in Illinois, the median rent has increased from $1,750 per month to $1,900 a month. And it's just so interesting to me, if you're trying to help Chicago residents, right, who are getting priced out of being able to live in their houses, getting pushed out, you're now going to add a massive influx of people that you basically have to say, yes, you can live here, and if not, you're going to be like accused of a hate crime. It's so backwards, and there's no way to rationalize that policy from the perspective of actually putting Chicago residents, meanwhile, when they're not having like dozens of people die every weekend because of shootings. Oh, what we should do right now is make sure Hondurans can live in houses in Chicago.
I mean, the biggest argument for ending birthright citizenship is typically this means that you will not be incentivizing people to cross the border just by saying, if you get here on time and have a baby here, you now have citizenship and claim to the country, and you could participate in DACA and everything else. And in some ways, Illinois is now saying, like, we'll do the same thing. If you can get here, we're going to give you special protections. And therefore, they are making it likely that if you were an illegal immigrant and you heard, hey, well, I won't get kicked out of an apartment because of my immigration status, which, there are benefits to going to Chicago. They are making it more inviting to encourage illegal immigration, which is incredibly dangerous for everyone involved, both the effect it has on our country, but also for the people who are crossing the border. It's not safe, and we shouldn't encourage it like this.
Regarding to this Chicago thing that they're doing, are they charging $1,900 a month for rent for these illegal immigrants, or are they being forced to lower their rent?
Rent is probably not connected. However, you need to consider that the more they expand these issues, you will get people who will demand a cheaper rent, and if you deny them, they'll make the argument that it was discrimination. So not typical, though. I don't think money plays a big role in this. And what they're going to try and stake this on is immigration status just means, like, if you immigrated to this country versus if you're a citizen or not. But of course, it's going to include immigration status in general, which includes incomplete status or, expired, et cetera, et cetera. What can you expect?
The big problem you see
thing,
generally is, like, when someone is arrested at the border for illegal immigration, and if they're released in the country, like, immigration court is so messed up that you'll have years and years before you're supposed to come back and appear before a judge. You have no reason to actually return if you're able to set up life somewhere and live basically away from the system. So in some ways, you're potentially hurting landlords who, if someone were to, like, commit a crime and flee, then their building is associated with these negative things. I mean, I don't want to make too many generalizations, but making it so you are making one state saying illegal immigration is okay here, it hurts everyone else around them. It hurts the people of Illinois. It's not an incentive. It doesn't help or protect immigrants. It's just ultimately creating more fires that Illinois is going to have to put out, which means they're going to end up asking the federal government for more assistance. They're already doing that with cities.
The illegal immigrants they allow into their state move to other states. And then, California letting non-citizens in, they then go to Arizona, Colorado, et cetera, and they start putting economic strain in these places, and they're not being tracked properly.
And then they can vote in New York City.
In terms of resources to the government to say tracked, we don't want outright overt surveillance. I mean, the amount of money that is being generated by the economic activity of these immigrants is harder to track, and so we're expending more resources on our public utilities. That's just costing people more money.
Yeah, I think Adrian Norman for Timcast today just posted an article saying 1 in 4, I'm going to pull it right now, nearly 1 in 4 public school students are the children of illegal immigrants or of immigrants generally. Wow. I mean, immigration has a huge impact on our country, and I know there are arguments for it for some people, but illegal immigration is a huge challenge that we are not taking seriously enough. And in fact, we haven't been for years. And I think this should be something that everyone talks about, but instead it becomes this emotional debate.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.